Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher. We have to talk about the Elder Scrolls Online. I don't want to. I don't particularly care about the Elder Scrolls Online. I don't particularly care about the Elder Scrolls. I don't. I wasn't a fan of Oblivion. Don't particularly care for Skyrim either, if I'm totally honest. But that's not the point. It's an MMO. It's an MMO. And that is my thing. That is what I love, as you can probably tell. So, there's a very dangerous precedent coming with the Elder Scrolls Online, is that the Collector's Edition will in fact include a complete extra playable race that you can't get unless you buy the Collector's Edition. They will unlock it eventually, maybe. They're charging an extra $20 in some form of in-game shop if you wish to buy it afterwards. You don't have to pre-order it. If you buy it afterwards, the Collector's Edition, you will get this extra playable race known as the Imperials. Well, isn't that a fucking scumbag precedent? Isn't that disgusting? That is horrible. Let me put it in perspective about what we're talking about here. Let's suppose you bought Mists of Pandaria, but if you wish to play a Pandaren, you would have to pay extra. Yeah, settle that in for a moment. Suppose you bought World of Warcraft, and you really wanted to be a Tauren. But unfortunately, you had to pay more to play a Tauren, a race that was fully developed for the game, was in the game all the time, and now it's a little extra that you have to pay for. What if they were the only race you actually liked? And that's not rare, is it? A lot of us actually really are fans of one or two particular races, and for the rest of them we don't really care, and that changes constantly from person to person. In Ghosty's case it's the Blood Elves. In my case I love the Undead. Suppose they were behind a paywall. Suppose I had to pay to play an Undead. I wouldn't exactly be a fan of that. It's a really weird thing that's come out of the Elder Scrolls Online. Or is it? That's the big question here. Or is it? I've spoke about the Elder Scrolls Online a couple of times during the web shows. Not everybody watches the web shows. I'm fine with that. It's cool. It's a long-ass piece of content. However, I said quite readily that the Elder Scrolls Online so far has received nothing but bad reviews. Really bad feedback coming from the people who have played it, saying this game just isn't quite what you're hoping for at all, and it seems to be another cash-in. When it comes to new MMOs, I don't get excited. I really don't, especially if they have even a close to WoW-ish feel. I'm not saying it's exactly like WoW before people jump on the bandwagon, but when it's kind of like the hotkey fantasy MMO, it's not really tickling my fucking balls. It really isn't. I'm looking for the next big thing that's totally changing the game up. So I wasn't that interested in the Elder Scrolls Online. I told people that way. But then I read this and I feel like, please do not endorse this for the love of Christ. And there's a number of reasons why. One, it's such a dangerous precedent. If games get away with this in MMOs to lock behind paywalls, playable races, that's really dangerous. Every now and again we get something that pisses us off. Little in-game items, collector's pets, all this kind of stuff means a lot to some people and they get angry. But a playable race affects everybody. What really surprises me about this is that it comes after, not long after, I talked on the web show about the report that the Elder Scrolls Online was damned to be the biggest disappointment and the biggest failure of 2014. Okay, that was a report that came out from the people who had played it and researched it and done their homework, and they were pretty adamant this is going to be the biggest disaster of 2014. Sure, it could be just clickbait. I've no doubt about that, but it's not looking good. And then shortly after we get this, let me tell you a little story. Star Wars The Old Republic. Star Wars The Old Republic was set to be the next big thing. It was WoW-ish, but it kind of done something very, very different in that it made the leveling up process as good as the end game. And in fact, it turned out to be far better than the end game. And people loved that, including myself. The leveling experience in Star Wars The Old Republic was brilliant. So we were excited, and we played it for the first month. Then it kind of settled in, the reality of the situation, the disaster, the pain that was in fact the end game, the problems, the randomness, getting PvP crates, you can't find out what the fuck is in it and you grind them out forever, and it all turned into a big dirty mess. But then I got to speaking to people who were involved with the game. You know what they told me? Doesn't matter. And I said, why? And they told me, and I've told this story before, Star Wars The Old Republic made all the money and profit it needed in the first month of its launch. So many pre-orders. So many people trying the game out. It's got the hype. It's got the buzz. It's got the marketing. People were into it. It had an IP we could recognize and be familiar with. Sound familiar? Of course it does. This is a blatant cash-in on a game that I believe is not going to be very good. It's not looking great at all for the Elder Scrolls Online. So how do we solve this? We use essentially the Star Wars model. We launch subscription-based. We build the hype as much as we can. We try to hide as much negativity as possible. And then we cash it in as much as we can. If we want to cash in properly, let's do something completely disgustingly retarded, like put a playable race behind a paywall so entice people to pay that little bit more so we can make as much profit as possible. Because we're not convinced this game is going to last and reach the numbers we want it to. This is what it sounds like to me. Call me a doomsayer all you want, but when I hear a game is not looking good from the people who are playing it, when I see that it's down to be one of the biggest failures of the year, and then I see that people want extra money in order to open and buy the game, that sounds to me like grabbing as much fucking cash out of your pocket while you're willing to pay something. Because they're not convinced you're going to want to pay something in the future. It's a blatant exploit of everybody who loved Oblivion and loved Skyrim. I know I'm in the minority when I say I wasn't into those games because I know many of you loved those games. And as such, you want to take part in the Elder Scrolls universe in an MMO. That sounds like the dream to you. Just like Star Trek Online seemed like the dream to me. The Matrix Online, all these games, even Age of fucking Conan. I love the Conan series, besides the new one. But still, it's get as much money out of your pocket while you're willing to pay. And then they don't care, because then they can go free to play as quickly as humanly possible just to get any microtransactions they can out of you. This is just another example of how far companies are willing to go in order to rescue their profit line. We've seen it in things like Forza. This next gen is the period of time where game companies are working out how much they can bend us over a goddamn table, lube it up, and stick it as far as they can. It makes me sad. It makes me really sad that a playable race. And people are apologetic. How can you be apologetic? Be like, it's not the end of the world. It won't be imbalanced. Of course they're not going to make it imbalanced, right? Are you fucking kidding me? How long has WoW been out? One of the most money-raking game known to man. And they still have problems with racial balance. Yes, this new race will have its own racial balances. Crafting and all sorts of shit. You're telling me you're... Oh, of course, as if they would get it wrong. Right. What world are you fucking living in? What world? Where do you get the arrogance? Where do you even get the fucking brevity to sit there and say, it'll be fine? How can you apologize to somebody who is locking a playable race behind a paywall? Why would you want to? Why would you want this to be a thing going forward? Mists of Pandaria, Pandarans locked, pay more money. Cataclysm, Worgens, Goblins locked, pay more money. Wrath of the Lich King, Death Knights locked, pay more money. We wouldn't stand for it. So you shouldn't stand for it now. They want your money. They want your money while you're willing to pay. Because they don't think it's gonna last. Don't fall for it, and certainly don't set a precedent here, guys. So many of you are looking forward to this game, I know you are, but for the love of God, don't support this. Don't do it. It's just sad for us all. It's really sad to see a company doing this. And it's sadder to see that the community is supporting them. You're supporting them locking an entire race away for more money. Doesn't matter if it unlocks in the future. Doesn't even matter if it's balanced. Because it doesn't matter. It shouldn't exist in the first place. Locking races away. This isn't an in-game item that gets out-leveled. This is a whole race. Get it together. It's a big part of the game. There's nothing much else to say on this. Reading everything about it and then reading the apologetic people, supporting them, give them time. It'll be okay, guys. It'll be fine. It's not going to be a problem. It's going to be fine. This is a subscription game. This isn't a fucking microtransaction game. You have to pay a subscription. Now we have a subscription game where there's part of the game that you have to pay more for. Come on. If this was a free-to-play game, fine. Good races, locked behind things. Bag space, locked behind things. Fine. Dandy. No fucking problem. This is a subscription game. $180 a year. Look how expensive this thing is on Game Fan Shop to buy now. It's like 60 quid. 60 pounds to buy the fucking game. What? Are you crazy? And then they're locking content behind a paywall? Please don't do it, guys. Don't support this. Laters.